Welcome to the New South Wales Electoral Commission's Candidate Information Presentation for Local Council by-elections. The presentation is suitable for elections for Mayor and elections for one or more councillors. This is part 3 of the Candidate Information Seminar. This is a 4-part presentation. In part 1, we covered electoral rolls, the registration and nomination process, and the ballot paper draw. In part 2, we covered electoral material. In this part, we'll be covering election campaign finance management. And in part 4, we'll cover voting, vote counting and results, disclosure of donations and expenditure, and allegations and offences. Overview. This presentation is intended to assist individual candidates and political parties contesting local council elections that are conducted by the New South Wales Electoral Commissioner. If the election for your council is not being conducted by the Electoral Commissioner, go to our website for information on the registration process and the management and disclosure of election campaign finances. The website is www.elections.nsw.gov.au/FD. The information in this presentation is based on legislation and policies of the Electoral Commissioner and the New South Wales Electoral Commission, as at the date of recording, the 20th of February 2017. Websites and call centre. All forms and publications, including the Candidate Handbook, are available on the New South Wales Elections website, www.elections.nsw.gov.au, or call our Candidate Call Centre on 1300 088 942. For information about being a local government councillor, go to the Office of Local Government's website, which is www.olg.nsw.gov.au, or access the New South Wales Legislation website at www.legislation.nsw.gov.au. Local government elections are conducted in accordance with the Local Government Act and Regulation, and election campaign finances are regulated under the Election Funding, Expenditure and Disclosures Act and Regulation. On the 1st of July 2016, there were new rules about election campaign finances. The new rules include donation caps now apply to political donations for local council elections and local councillors. Third-party campaigners must be registered with the Electoral Commission for local council elections, and political parties are required to keep a local government campaign account to make payments for all local government election expenditure. For more information about the new rules, go to www.elections.nsw.gov.au/FD or contact us on 1300 088 942 or email the Funding, Disclosure and Compliance Division of the Electoral Commission at fdc@elections.nsw.gov.au. Election campaign finance management deals with how and when to use a campaign account, accepting political donations, making payments for electoral expenditure, who you can accept a political donation from, and how to keep proper records. Please note that references in this presentation to groups are only applicable where there are 2 or more vacancies to be filled in an undivided council area or in a ward. Also remember that the official agent of a candidate or group of candidates is responsible for managing the candidate or group's election campaign finances. If no official agent has been appointed, the candidate is their own agent. In the case of a group, the head candidate is the agent for the group. Campaign accounts. A candidate or group must open a campaign account before accepting $1,000 or more in donations, or before incurring $1,000 or more in electoral expenditure. The election period for a council commences 30 days after the previous council election and ends 30 days after the current council by-election. The campaign account is an account with a bank, building society or credit union, and there are no requirements for the name of the account. The campaign account must belong to the candidate or group members and must be separate to any personal accounts. The official agent must be authorised with the financial institution to operate the account. Other people, but not the candidate or group, can operate the account, but they must be authorised with the financial institution and must be appointed in writing by the agent. Candidates and group members must not operate the campaign account. If a person is the official agent for more than one candidate or group, a single account can be used, but separate records of the transactions for each candidate or group must be kept by the agent. Payments into the campaign account include depositing money that is contributed by the candidate or a group member for the campaign, and depositing political donations that are made to the candidate or group that are to be used to make payments for electoral expenditure or that are to reimburse a person who incurred electoral expenditure. Payments from the campaign account can include making payments for the candidate or group's electoral expenditure. Minor payments are excluded here for payments up to $50, but not exceeding $1,000 in total in an election period. Payments from the campaign account can also include reimbursing the candidate or group member for money they paid into the account, or making political donations to other candidates or groups who are members of the same political party as the candidate or group who owns the account, or any other use authorised by the Electoral Commission. Political donations. A political donation is a gift made to or for the benefit of a candidate, a group of candidates, an elected member of Parliament or a local council, or a political party. A political donation also includes a gift to or for the benefit of an entity or individual, the whole or part of which is used to enable the entity or individual to make a political donation or incur electoral expenditure, or to reimburse the entity or individual for making a political donation or incurring electoral expenditure. A political donation includes a monetary gift, the provision of free or discounted services, for example printing, a non-monetary gift, for example sporting memorabilia to be auctioned off at an election fundraiser, the sale of a ticket or other item for a fundraising venture or function, such as a raffle ticket, political party membership and affiliation fees, interest charged or no interest charged on a loan that is below the Electoral Commission's set interest rate for loans. Find out more about the Electoral Commission's set interest rate for loans on our website www.elections.nsw.gov.au/FD. A donation also includes a transfer between a party, candidate, group or elected member, a transfer from a federal or other state or territory branch of a party to the New South Wales branch of the party, and a transfer between one party to another associated party. There are two categories of political donations. The first is small political donations. They are less than $1,000 or multiple donations of less than $1,000 made by the same donor to the same recipient in a financial year that in aggregate are less than $1,000. For small donations, the agent is to record the details of the donor and the donation, and the record is to be kept for 3 years. And the total value and total number of small donations are to be disclosed to the New South Wales Electoral Commission. The second category of political donations are reportable political donations. They are $1,000 or more, or multiple donations of less than $1,000 made by the same donor to the same recipient in a financial year that in aggregate are $1,000 or more. In these cases, the agent must obtain the name and address of the donor, and the agent is to record the details of the donor and the donation and keep the record for 3 years, and a receipt is to be issued to the donor. The full details of the donor and the donation must be disclosed to the New South Wales Electoral Commission. Contact the Candidate Call Centre on 1300 088 942 to request an Electoral Commission receipt book. The Electoral Commission receipts must be used unless an electronic receipt is issued. An electronic receipt must capture all the information that is otherwise on the Electoral Commission's receipt. You should also be aware that donors are required to disclose to the Electoral Commission the reportable political donations they make. Each receipt has a statement to advise the donor of this disclosure obligation. From the 1st of July 2016, there are now caps on political donations for local government elections and local councillors. The caps are adjusted for each financial year. So for the year 1 July 2016 to 30 June 2017, the relevant caps are $5,900 for registered political parties and groups, and $2,600 for unregistered parties, candidates, elected members, and third-party campaigners. It is unlawful for you to accept a donation that is over the capped amount. Aggregation of donation caps. If you receive multiple donations from the same donor in the same financial year, the donations made by that donor to you are to be aggregated for the purposes of determining whether the donations are within the donation cap. Also, multiple donations made by a donor to elected members, groups or candidates of the same party are to be aggregated for the purposes of the caps. Contributions made by a candidate to their own campaign are not subject to the donation caps. Loans. A loan is an advance of money, the provision of credit, or any other transaction that is a loan of money. A reportable loan is a loan of $1,000 or more. If you receive a reportable loan, you are to keep a record of the name and address of the lender and the terms and conditions of the loan. Reportable loans must be disclosed to the New South Wales Electoral Commission. And remember, any uncharged interest or interest that is less than the Commission's set interest rate for loans is a political donation. For example, if the New South Wales Electoral Commission's set interest rate for loans is 5%, and if the interest that is charged to you on a loan is at a rate of 4%, then the 1% difference is a political donation. The donation caps apply, and all other requirements around donations apply. Who can you accept a donation from? A political donation must not be accepted unless the donor is an individual on the electoral roll, or the donor is an entity with a business number that is recognised by the Australian Securities and Investments Commission, or the individual or entity has been approved by the Electoral Commissioner prior to making the donation. To be approved to make a political donation, a prospective donor is to use the application for approval of acceptable identification by a potential political donor. That's the EF708 form. Banned corporations and their close associates. You must not accept any political donations from or solicit a person to make a donation on behalf of the following corporations and their close associates: property developers, liquor, gambling and tobacco entities, and close associates include, but are not limited to, the director of a corporation, the spouse of a director of the corporation, or a related body corporate of the corporation. These corporations and their close associates are not permitted to make donations or solicit a person to make a donation on their behalf. A person must not make or accept a donation on behalf of a banned corporation or a close associate. An indirect campaign contribution includes any of the following that are made to a political party, an elected member, a group or a candidate: free or discounted office accommodation, vehicles, computers or other equipment that are used for an election campaign, payment of, in full or in part, electoral expenditure to be incurred by a party, elected member, group or candidate for advertising or other purposes, and waiving of, in full or in part, electoral expenditure incurred by a party, elected member, group or candidate for advertising or other purposes. Electoral expenditure is incurred by a party, elected member, group or candidate when it is endorsed by the party, elected member, group or candidate. Indirect campaign contributions that are valued at more than $1,000 are unlawful. Indirect campaign contributions do not include volunteer labour or the incidental or ancillary use of a volunteer's vehicle or equipment, and anything done by a political party for its endorsed candidates as arranged by the party agent. Other unlawful political donations. They include anonymous reportable political donations. Remember, the name and address of the donor must be given to the person who is accepting the donation. Donations by parties, etc., to independent candidates. A donation must not be made to or accepted by an independent candidate or independent group from a party, an endorsed candidate, or an endorsed elected member. Failure to keep a record of a reportable loan. The terms and conditions of a reportable loan and the name and address of the lender must be recorded. What to do when a donation is received? 1. The candidate or group must be registered and the donation must be made to the official agent or a person appointed by the agent. 2. Obtain the name and address of the donor. 3. Check the donor is enrolled or has a business number or has been approved by the Electoral Commissioner. 4. Check the donor and donation is not unlawful. 5. Make a complete and accurate record of the donor and the donation. 6. Issue the donor with a receipt if the donation is reportable. 7. Deposit the donation into a candidate account. And finally, 8. Use the donation to make payments for electoral expenditure or other authorised purpose. If no campaign account is required to be kept, then Step 7 does not apply. Electoral expenditure. Electoral expenditure is expenditure to promote or oppose a party or candidate or influence the vote at an election. Electoral communication expenditure is a subset of electoral expenditure and includes advertising and printing, internet, telecommunications and postage expenses, employment of campaign staff, office accommodation of the candidate and campaign staff, travel and accommodation of the candidate and campaign staff, and campaign research. Other electoral expenditure can include fundraising expenditure and expenses for auditing campaign accounts. Shared advertising. If more than one party, elected member, group or candidate benefits from advertising or printing that is authorised by the party, elected member, group or candidate, then the expenditure is to be split equally among those who benefit. Where the expenditure is not split equally, an indirect campaign contribution has been made to the person who paid less than their equal share. For example, if the publishing of an advert costs $500 and it is authorised by and benefits two groups, then the equal share per group is $250. If one group pays $400 and the other $100, then the first group has incurred $400 in electoral expenditure and made a $150 indirect campaign contribution to the second group. The second group has incurred $100 in electoral expenditure and accepted $150 as an indirect campaign contribution. Indirect campaign contributions are political donations. What to do when electoral expenditure is incurred? 1. The candidate or group must be registered before payments for electoral expenditure can be made. 2. Payments for expenditure are to be made by the official agent or a person appointed by the agent. Payment is to be made using the funds from the campaign account. 4. A complete record is to be kept of the details of the expenditure. And 5. A copy of each invoice or receipt is to be kept. 6. A copy of the advertising or printed material is also to be kept. If no campaign account is required to be kept, then Step 3 does not apply here. The details of all electoral expenditure must be disclosed to the New South Wales Electoral Commission. Fundraising ventures and functions. The sale of tickets, auction items and other items are political donations, and expenditure incurred for a fundraising venture or function is electoral expenditure. In addition to keeping records of the donations and expenses, also keep a record of the net or gross proceeds from each fundraiser, a description of the nature of each fundraiser, and the date or period each fundraiser was held. These fundraising details must be disclosed to the New South Wales Electoral Commission. Remember, refer to the election calendar on the Electoral Commission's website for key dates on the election. Understand the new rules about caps on political donations. Understand the requirements for accepting political donations and making payments for electoral expenditure. And keep complete and accurate records of donations and expenditure for 3 years. All forms are available on the Electoral Commission's website, www.elections.nsw.gov.au. And remember to view Part 4 of this presentation. If you have any questions, contact our Candidate Call Centre on 1300 088 942. And if you have any questions about this presentation, email us at nominations@elections.nsw.gov.au. In Part 4, we'll be covering voting before and on election day, the counting of votes and results, disclosing political donations and electoral expenditure, and complaints and allegations.